Hello, hello, hello. You are now tuned into Conversations with Coco, and I am your host, Coco. Hello, everyone. For those of you who are return listeners, this is our first time adding in a visual. Y'all are used to audio. So, we're growing. This is episode 5. I am officially one whole hand. And shout out to me because we've talked about it on my show before. I am a procrastinator, but I have not procrastinated on this project, and I'm very proud of myself. So shout out to me. Today's setup is going to be a little bit different because we do have a visual added. We have a guest today, so my flow is going to be a little different, but that's okay because you guys are in for a treat today. Now, I'm going to hold off on introducing my guest because I have a little surprise for her today that she's going to enjoy. So, one thing I'm going to do today, y'all are used to. So, for those of you who are listening or watching first, every episode of mine, I'm a Pisces, right? So, the way my mind functions, it could either be very just like direct and grown up and healed. And then on the other side, it can be pretty crazy and chaotic. So every episode of mine is a trip, right? So I visualize it as us being in the car together. I'm the driver. My listeners are the passengers, and we're taking a trip together. We're gonna talk, bring your snacks, bring your drinks. We're gonna unpack, we're gonna listen to some music. And then at the end of our journey, we go off into our lives. And hopefully I've said something or I've done something that you'll be able to marinate on and take with you. So one thing I do, I have a What's My Mood segment. And within that segment, I will play a song that's been in my spirit or that I've been listening to or kind of vibing with. So since this is February, which is the month of love, all month for my What's My Mood segments, I'm going to be playing like my favorite like love songs, sexy songs, set the mood for folks. So today I have a song that I would like to play. And here goes. Don't try to be actually, hold on a minute. Because Spotify hating on me. And that's not what I asked for. Give me a second. Meet 3 people who took control of their This is what happens when you go live first, and I'm trying to play it from Spotify because I can't play it from somewhere else. But the song that I'm playing, my guest is actually very familiar with it because I am picking one of her songs for my mood segment today. I think she already knows. So is the song only on Spotify or is it on another streaming platform?
What's the song?
Obey.
Oh, you should be able to. You can play it from Bandcamp, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, I think.
Let me go on YouTube. I was listening to it earlier today on Spotify.
Yeah.
Spotify is being a hater.
Technology is only good when it works.
It is. So I'm going to pull it up on YouTube right quick. And then if you're listening on the audio, then I'm going to include all of the information in the description box below. So just bear with me for a moment. We just going to roll with it. So while I'm actually looking for the song, why don't you use this? Wait, is this it? Oh, yes, it is because I listened to it before. Okay, here we go, y'all. And I'm only going to play a little bit of it. Hovered over his horizon. We're staring deep into the eyes of the other, right into each other. It's as if nothing else even exists than this. We kiss and instantly our souls connect, sharing secrets full of sweet nothings. Words cannot fathom yet. All we do is simply obey. Listen. I'm not even gonna play the whole thing because y'all got to go check my girl out and make sure she.
I did that poem last night at the Afrosexuality event.
It is so sexy.
And I did it as style participation, so I had the audience saying "obey." So like,
Listen, that is and it, and I mean, would you call it a song? How do you describe it?
It's a poem. I mean, it's a track or whatever, But like, it takes on a new personality. Maybe like a song when you add music to it. For so long, I just did it like a cappella or whatever. And so
Okay,
when
so
I
pause
didn't
there
get
for and pause because I need to
yeah.
introduce you properly because we need to go.
Oh, okay.
We need to go into this. So I have the incomparable Brit Nicole. Now, me and Brittany been knowing each other so long. I think we
Forever.
met in middle school.
Yes.
Um, we have the same best friend. Um, we have had so many like moments, like dope ass, funny, grown up. We've been through a lot together. We've been knowing
We
each
a
other
lifer.
for a
You a
very long.
lifer, Taylor.
You really, yes, we really are. So yes, it is an honor. I have Brit Nicole today. So I'm gonna take a few minutes to kind of let people know some of the things you've done and how dope you are. But for us to start off, since we kind of here already, obey.
Yeah.
Now I love the song personally because I'm a submissive. I have
Yeah.
no problem with that, right? And the
Yeah.
song is just it gets you in your feels.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about like how you even got to even putting that song together, writing it.
My pleasure. Okay, so Dwelle, the neo soul
Mhm.
singer.
Mhm.
So he has a song called Obey
Mhm.
that came out in like 2011, 2012, 2012.
Okay.
One of my closest friends, Sasha, had like let me hear it. Now, here's a quick backstory. In the midst of this song coming out, I was still in my dumbass maybe 6 year of celibacy. We're not gonna go into that. Just know
You
that's the
wrote that
past,
song while being celibate?
baby. And I was,
Okay.
but not shortly after I wrote the poem. That's all. So if I could have if I could have manifested that shit a long time ago.
Let me listen to this on the mo.
So, the first time I heard this song by Dwelle, I'm like, ooh, okay, and it just made me think of like I love a good story.
Mhm.
Even when I'm like doing poetry, I want to tell a story. I want to have a conversation. I wanted to, have an intro, have a build up, and then there's like this climax and rising and this kind of ending, but it lingers. It can go into
Mhm.
something else. It can be done. And so, one of my best friends, one of her friends, he was writing poetry, and he had this like little blurb on Facebook a long time ago, and it says she's just hovered above my horizon. And when I see a line, if I hear something, I will always ask him, like, can I use that? Because
Mhm.
I just because it's better than just like it's such a creative way of saying straddles. You literally just
Right.
straddled on top of a person. I'm on top of you, hovered over his horizon, and meaning horizon has to rise, which means that you know
Yeah.
exactly
Oh,
where
yep.
you are. And
Yep.
I'm a very intentional person. So like
Mhm.
I'm everything I'm describing, like we're in like those eyes when they're locked, we're deep into the eyes of like right into each other. Everything else doesn't exist. We're present.
Mhm.
We're like, it's that intimacy piece that builds up. We ain't even done nothing yet. It's the
And
person
I'm
that's
a visual
full like
person.
that.
I'm a
Yeah.
visual person, so as I listen to it, I visualize what you're saying.
So right when I
Yeah.
say um it's obvious he wants to captain this shit by the way he's caressing my head,
Mhm.
keeping me keeping me steady so I don't slip. Course changing body buckle. That's just you moving around with a person. Like literally, it's just a creative way of saying simple shit. Like I
Yeah.
ain't never done that before. You have definitely done this before.
That's dope. That's dope. That's definitely I love it. I love it.
I
Yeah.
got to
And
perform it for him once.
yes, I recall. Now how long ago was that? Because the song was 2 years old.
So the poem I wrote it was in 2012, and I got to perform it for him in 2015
Mm.
at the City Winery in Chicago. And then when I got to Chicago, his other show in 2017, I brought it back up to him when me and my cousin Keisha was hanging out with him in a green room. I don't know how this happened.
Life with Brit is lit.
That's real. That's that.
Life with Brit is lit. So just to get
Actual
into
fact.
a little bit more about what you do, I have my notes here because you accomplished a lot, and being your friend, I'm super proud of you and the journey that you have taken and all of your accomplishments. So
Thank
one
you.
thing, well, two things that I want to focus on. Number one, Your debut spoken word album, Nocturnal Butterfly,
Yes.
13 tracks. That was
Yes.
like your first time putting like your spoken word on an album to put out into the world.
Yes.
So what was like your inspiration behind that, and what led you to finally be like, okay, I'm doing this. Let's
So
get
this
it.
is that's a great question. This was my fourth attempt, but you got to know when the timing is right. Because had
Right.
I released
Mhm.
this the first time, oh my God, it was a completely different album. I would have had to redo it something. You know,
Right.
everything happens for a reason. And I was in a space. Well, one, I got to shout out the quarantine because if I didn't be like made to be in my house, and you know me, I
Hmm.
I, I had to be made to sit that ass down. Which
Yep.
is when like how we got the book and then how we got the album. Because for a
Mhm.
long time, I told people, I will never be this kind of artist. Why do I have to pay money to go up here and put an album out for y'all? Like I was just like,
Right.
you either go see it, hear about it, or it didn't happen.
Mhm.
Um, but I had the right people on my team. So shout out to my sis B Free and her husband Q. He was my engineer. These are amazing artists. So of course they're very intentional about their own stuff. So they're going to be like that for me.
Right.
My boy Genesis Renji, amazing artist. He was he mastered my program, my album. I let a few people hear it. Like, you know, there was no particular order. I think that gave me the most like anxiety because I'm like, how do you start this album? How do you end it? Like
Yeah.
what kind of journey y'all trying to take it? Like, is it too heavy with a particular topic or here? And I'm like, I got to get out of my head. I know how I wanted to start and end it, but I needed that in between. So
Right.
getting feedback, like constructive feedback. Does the track linger too long? Do you need to cut it off here?
Right. And
Is it
that's
clear?
important.
Yeah, like I want to know, is it clear? Like I know the content is good. It's mine. It's my work. But like those technical things that people do not take, they don't pay enough attention to.
Yeah, and
So at least
a good engineer will a good engineer, a good producer when you're doing productions like that goes a long way. And it's
yeah,
dope that you have people who have the same intentions as you and the people who you are close to and kind of hold near and dear. So that was good that you were able to experience your project and have that type of backing
yeah.
because then it shows forth in the work you put out.
And one of my like big brothers in the especially in the poetry game, he's phenomenal. Bobby Drake. I let him hear it, and like this is probably the best compliment you can get from a man like him to know him.
Mhm.
He's like, Britt, this album goes down like a 15-year-old shot, and I was just like,
Ooh,
right, like
that's nice. I love that
that
for
was
you.
I was like, what? And then like it shout out to Reading Society, especially Tay Spears because like I was their manager during the whole quarantine, and if
Mhm.
it wasn't for being their manager and like listening to all their music and learning how to buy beats and look for beats, like I selected all those beats. I paid for those things, but I knew nothing about that before being their manager. And I'm like, how am I
Mm.
managing people's like actual like careers, like music careers? This is the weirdest thing, but like that helped me in turn because I've been doing it all myself.
It
And
did.
I never considered, and you don't want just any kind of beat. Like I'm very
Right.
cautious when people ask me to feature on this stuff. I'm so honored. But you got to make sure that it complements and it's not clashing. Make sure that it
Right.
makes sense. You don't need to put spoken word in everything. I get it. It's dope.
True. Yeah.
But do like anything else, do what makes sense.
Right.
So I was
Yeah.
very like the beat that you heard, I was like, oh, I got the perfect poem for that. And
Yeah. So fitting.
That's how Tay ended up with it on his album. So that's where you played that one from his album. I'm only
Yes.
on Bandcamp right now. But I told him, I said, the only way you can get Obey on your album, because I wrote Mental Aphrodisiac specifically for his album.
Mhm.
I said the only way you can get Obey is if I can make sure I can put it on mine, because I didn't know you could have the same track on like multiple albums.
So yeah, I've definitely seen that a few times throughout music where you'll have two artists, like an artist on a song, and then you'll have it on multiple albums. I want to say it might have been Brand. I don't. It was something, and not to go too deep into this, but I think I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
vividly with like Brandy and Monica. I think with The Boy Is Mine. I feel
Oh
like they both
yeah,
had it on there. I can't remember the exact details, but I feel like they did, but I could be
yeah.
tripping. But
What makes a lot of sense.
in honor of Black History Month, and this is something that I think is super dope. You just recently won the Best Milwaukee Author of the Year. Now, was this through Shepherd Express or someone else?
Yes. Yes,
Okay, but
Stephanie.
not only did you win that, but from what I understand, you were the first Black woman to win this award.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
happy Black History Month. Okay.
Okay, because we're doing
So
it.
tell me, okay, so and forgive me because I don't know how this goes. Did you
Oh
have to
no,
be
it's fine.
nominated for that award?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is my second time being nominated, and actually was a finalist like the year before.
Okay.
Shepherd Express around like September, they got all these categories for the best of, and so what you do is people start nominating you, and then they get like a list of folks who get, like get nominated. I don't know if it's like an X amount of nominations get you on the ballot or whatever, because the first time it happened, my book had just released in May. So I was like, who dropped the dime on me? I was very confused. But then you get people that just keep like, yeah, I second that nomination, I third that nomination, and then they get down by like November. Well, they announced it in October to your finalists. So you're like four finalists. So then between November and December, you're just trying to get all the votes you can, and then they tally it, and then they do a whole big thing in January and announce it. But I didn't go to the award ceremony or none of that stuff. I was at work, so somebody had to send me a picture
That's
and
what I
say
was gonna ask you. So
congratulations.
tell me where were you and what were you doing when you found out you won?
I was at work. Girl, I was at work, probably working way longer than I think I did 15 hours that day. Because it's always packing at the Milwaukee Arts. And so I was just minding the business that pays me. What's funny is that I was on a phone with one of my friends in Georgia, and I told him, I said, "Oh yeah, I saw a couple people post like, oh yeah, the award ceremony is today." And he's like, "You're not going?" I said, "Well, one, I'm at work, and two, that's just not necessarily my thing. However the cookie crumbles, what I'm saying? I know my people riding for me. You know, it's me and three other white people. So, who knows who's gonna win? I'm
Right.
not gonna, just being nominated, what I'm saying? Like even last year, I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
just being nominated is dope as hell. But then when I get the picture sent, congratulations, I said, what? So so then I get an inbox for the same person, and I said, so there's kids walking by, me to call parents, let them see if they, outside, and I start bawling because
Aw.
I'm a Pisces son. You already
Yes, we
know,
both are. Yes.
right? So I call my dad. He's my go-to. So I'm like crying, and he's just like, "Oh my god, like what's wrong?" I was like, "No, these are happy tears." Like I'm so dramatic for no reason.
Um,
I, I said,
Drama
"Dad,
queen here. I get
you
it.
are come on. We own that and the petty bus, right?" So so then like I'm like telling him, I'm like, "Dad, I won. Like I really won, and this award means so much to me because this is the people's vote.
Yes. Yes.
My job in them, because they were also finalists for first stage and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
They voted for me. You know what I'm saying? When I was gigging doing other things, I'm like, hey y'all, go to this thing right here. People, voted for me. Even some of my young people who I was working with or doing workshops with. Things like, where do we go to,
So,
Miss Brit? Like that. You know what I'm saying? Like this is the people's vote. So when people say your
and
vote don't count, look at me.
yeah, and I joke with Brittany a lot about this, but I've always told Brittany throughout the years that she collects people.
I,
We we always joke about this. She's always at her max on Facebook friends. Anywhere you go with Brittany, I don't care if it's the grocery store, the corner store, the mall. Brittany gonna run into somebody that she know, and 9 times out of 10, she not even gonna know that person or where she know them from, but they know her. So I
what
truly
again?
believe this was
What
the
again?
people's voice. This was the
It
people.
really was.
This is her life. This is her
And
life.
I tell people all the time, your character really,
It
goes,
precedes you.
it weighs way more than your skills
Mhm.
or your talent, and so people not only, they didn't just sow into, to try to make history, they sowed in me.
Yes.
Whether I continue doing this, I'm more than just poetry. So I tell people I'm a builder, healer, and connector. Poetry is a tool that
Mhm.
I use to do these said things.
Mhm.
So my personality, what you see is what you get. When there's different pockets of people all over the place, you're like, Brid, because I am saying authentic to me. They know who me for
Mhm.
my authentic self and what I present in my art, and saying you are worth sowing into. I have seen you, or they had their own reactions and feelings to how they felt when they've been in my presence or seen me perform or just
Yeah.
talk to me. So they're sowing to more than just it's just accolades. They're really sewing into the person who is
I
also
love
an
that.
artist.
I love
Yeah,
that. I do. I do. So we are going to talk about a few things today, and the first thing that I wanted to talk about is grief. And the reason I wanted to talk to you about that is, number one, we're both on journeys of grief. And I mean,
yeah,
I feel like a lot of people today are on their own individual journeys with grief and can definitely relate. One thing that you've done within the last, I believe within the last 6 months or less, was you put on a grief workshop that I believe was sponsored by the city of Milwaukee. Correct me if I'm wrong.
yeah, yeah,
And within this workshop, you brought together a community of people and you use writing as a tool to bring said individuals together to bond over their grief. Now, I had the opportunity to be able to join in on one class, number one, because I wanted to support you, and number two, because I needed it.
yeah,
Now, unfortunately, I was not able to fully immerse myself in the process because I was on a road trip to Dallas. But even though I couldn't like sit and actually write and be in tune with you all in person, I still remember how I felt leaving it. It felt good to be in a space with people who were on their own individual grief journeys and we were able to like pull different things from each other.
yeah.
So, how did that opportunity for you to put on that workshop come about?
Yes. First of all, shout out to Simone Kilgore, who used to work with OVP, Office of Violence Prevention, with the city of Milwaukee. She connected with me to even give me this opportunity because they have this recast program. So they take, do like programming to help, just another way to just kind of helping to support communities.
Right.
You get a portion, and you might as well put the money in your local people versus like, oh, we're going to cash out for somebody to come out that doesn't even really know Milwaukee or this residents or this need.
Yes.
So
Hmm.
and they wanted to specifically focus on grief. So my writing workshop, I want to write right now. I've been doing that since January. I was a camp counselor, like a day camp counselor at COA over 10 years ago, because we all had clubs. And so I realized that my young people, as much as we want to learn poetry, they really just needed to learn words. They weren't reading enough during the summertime. So when they come back in school, they feel like they're delayed because they're not, feeding their minds. So I'm like,
Yeah.
well, we can learn words and then we can go turn the words that we learned into poems. Like it all,
Mhm.
everything is satisfied. We're here to meet me. So I was glad when Simone reached out to me because it was just an opportunity to help meet me. And we need to have something like that throughout the city, all times, accessible to all persons.
For sure, for sure. I
You
think that a
know,
lot of people would be able to benefit from that because you feel like you're alone a lot of times when you're going through your grief. And when you are surrounded around people who can identify with what you are going through, you feel less alone. And then on
yeah,
top of that, you feel seen and you feel heard. And
yeah,
that is helpful as you're journeying through grief. So it was dope that you were able to kind of bring people together and you had a great reaction from it from what
yeah.
I heard, and hopefully that's something that you'll be able to not only do again but like you said, like make it bigger and make it more accessible because I mean you have a city full of people that are hurting for so many different reasons, and resources like that one would definitely be helpful because people, I mean, they just need to talk. Now, one
It's a,
thing that
it's,
I've done to help me throughout my grief journey is therapy. I'm a huge advocate for therapy.
yeah.
Um, Currently in therapy, love it. My therapist gets all of his money's worth. Um, and therapy does help, but I mean, grief is grief. You have some good days with it where you're managing with it pretty good, and then I mean, still to this day, I have days where grief really just kicks my ass. Like, especially within these last couple of weeks, I feel like it's real. It's been pretty heavy with me. Now, my grief comes from my grandmother. So my grandmother passed away in September of 2014, and my grandma was my best friend,
Oh, I know.
literally from the womb
Yeah.
all the way. Best friend. Like there was nobody in my life better than her. Favorite person. She kind of gave my life direction, made me feel like I had, a purpose. So with her not being here anymore, it kind of left just this huge void. Now, as we grew up, we were not properly taught how to maneuver through grief and handle it. And that is something that my mom had to kind of come back in and apologize for. When we grew up and somebody died and there was a funeral, all the kids went to grandma's house and you stayed at grandma's house until the adults came back and you never heard about it, you never talked about it, you kept going through life. So when my grandma passed, that was my first time. And mind you, I wasn't even 30. I think I was like 28. That was my first time ever dealing with somebody dying. And I did not have the tools that I needed to be able to grieve through that properly. Now,
Yeah.
if I did have the tools, I think the grief, it might have been the same, but I think I would have been able to maneuver through it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, so one thing about grief, and which a lot of people don't really know, and I wrote notes on it. Grief has different stages. So you have denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. With each of
Mm-hmm.
those stages, they don't have times attached to them. You can be in stage number one for years and years, or you can even be on stage number five and then end up going back to stage number one. Now, personally, I think that I'm at the end, so I would say that I'm in stage five, but I teeter back and forth between four and five. So, as far as you, as your friend, I know that you had two pretty major deaths in your life, and so would you care to share with everyone the two family members that you had that passed away?
Absolutely. I lost my mother. My mother transitioned at the end of October of 2017, and then my grandmother, her mom, transitioned October of 2020. So October is a really hard month,
Mhm.
and and that's so my the way the workshop was supposed to go. I was supposed to do this in August and then end in September, but it started the first week started at the last week of September, and I had to do all the rest of them in October. So I was like, God, answers, are y'all bullying me? Like it was a lot because I'm like, how do I
Yeah.
deliver? How do I facilitate this space? And take it from my own triggers. Like and then like these things are coming up, right? And so it was a lot, but I'm just like, you gotta stay authentic. Give yourself a moment.
Mhm.
This space is also for you. So it doesn't get any easier. Being an only child, well, like you have a plethora of brothers and sisters, but this journey is still personal and it's still lonely. And I mean, but
Yes.
being an only child, it's like I have my mother had really good relationships with some of my closest friends, like
Mhm.
like they're her, like bonus children. But I'm sharing this room with no one. So having to
Yes.
navigate that for me was hard.
So I'm glad I had that question for you. That's what I was going to ask because one thing that helps me through my grief journey with my grandmother is my older sister. So I have an older sister. She's 11 years older. My
Hmm.
grandmother raised her. She was born in the 70s. So she was a 70s, 80s kid. So she was able to experience my grandma being younger and more like able to be out and about. And so she just has the most amazing stories about her childhood and how she was raised by my grandmother. Now, I was raised by my grandmother from what I understand I think the first year of my life, maybe the first year and a half. I don't really know too much about the story or know the timing of it. So she raised me too, but not for long. But it helps me even to this day. Like just last week, me and my sister was on the phone for like 3 hours and we just laughed and talk about stuff that grandma used to do. Do you think that your grief journey would have been easier if you did have siblings to kind of go through that with you?
I could say yes ish because also it's the dynamic of me and my siblings. Everybody, doesn't have the best relationship. Like you have, like there's other ones, but
Right.
some, so if it was just me and another one other, but
Mhm.
even our stuff is like rocky, then where's that support? Or if they're so deep in their journey that they don't have it, they don't really have the capacity to support me. So I'm grateful for Village. I'm grateful for, you know, the brothers and sisters I've accumulated along the way to support me, and I'm actually really good in these scenarios. I'm just not good with death. My anyone knows me, my
Who
relationship with my
is?
mother. I, but surprisingly, there are a lot of people. Well, they give a good front, but I don't. Like
Right.
so, when I think about death, I'm not thinking about like how I'm gonna die. Like it's just whatever. But I'm thinking about the last song I'm gonna sing, the last meal I'm gonna have, the last person I'm gonna say
Mhm.
I love you to. So it's just like, is that the end?
Yeah.
But having the support, um, of my people, people checking up on me. And I'm a recluse, so I'm an extroverted introvert. Like truthfully, if I don't have to think about it, it's just me. I'm just thinking about like in my own zone or whatever. So I'm so used to closing the world off And then that's when people get really scared, like, what's going on or whatever, like that.
Yeah.
She's not posting, she's not whatever. And I don't always have my light to share. And that's the misconception that, like, you know, I know if I can get some of Brit's light, I'll be good. But like, please lighting, like, me. But then I also have to be in a space to receive that light too, that people want to, give into me. And I think my memories of Sonya, because if anybody knows me when I talk about my mother or my grandma or Rena May, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can check Facebook posts, all that kind of stuff. And, it's those things that keep me going. I think the closest one that I've had is my cousin Patricia. We're just about a year apart. And my grandmother raised us with my younger cousin. So my grandma had three. My mom's the oldest, and there's my uncle Yogi, and then there's my uncle Andre. I'm the oldest and the only of Sonia. Keisha is the oldest of Yogi, and then DeAndre is the oldest of, what I'm saying. So on weekends, I didn't go out with all kinds of people from Friday, like after school, to Sunday night, and I'm talking my parents late Sunday night where I just got to get into bed because I don't want to deal with y'all either. Live your life. I was with my granny. We were with our grandparents, so we were raised together. So, and then having Keisha be a nurse, that was so helpful for me. Especially when it came down to my mother. I just knew that I had to help take care of her. But she knew the jargon, she knew the stuff, and she could like help me because it wasn't easy having to make decisions and all kind of other stuff. And then you're caring for a parent that's dying. That's the hardest thing I ever had to do in my life. But that's only a fraction of what that woman has always been to me. And I was gifted 30 good years with this woman. I am sustained, and there's the war, those accolades, because Sonia had been praying for her baby since I was in the womb. She's been praying for me in my teenage years and my adulthood. All these things helped. She would introduce me as her CEO. She's like, this woman spoke the best over me. So I'm a manifestation of my legacy, so, and that helps me.
Yes.
Yeah, I am. I am not self-made. I'm a manifestation of a village prayers. People who have loved me, held me down, helped build me up, and like held me accountable. I come from a strong line of black men, who showed me what love.
Lifted. That what you just said keeps me lifted, because who I am as a person and as a woman was because my grandmother was.
Yeah.
Like, I'm literally living the life that she prayed about. In a different city, because if she was here, I'd be right on 24th and Center.
Come on.
But yes, that is true. And I love the way you put that together. Literally a manifestation, because those prayers are still doing what they were meant to do. And I love the way you said that, because that's true. And that's what definitely keeps me going. And even though they might not be here physically, we still carry them with us, Like, I still dream about my grandmother. I'll have times where I would like swear that I like smelled her scent, or I heard her voice, or girl, it'll be a song playing in my playlist. I'll be in the car driving, and there's been times where I just been having a day, and I'm just like, oh my God, I want to talk to my grandma. Girl, it'll be some mail waiters that'll come up, or some any of them blues songs she used to listen to, and I'm like, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So it's so many things that'll show up, and I'm really into like symbolism. And I don't know if you ever heard this before, but they said if you see a red cardinal like outside, usually that's a symbol of a guardian angel.
Oh.
And so when I was living in Houston, I haven't experienced it here yet, but when I was living in Houston, there will always be red cardinals around my like apartment. Or sometimes I'll be at work and I'll like be sitting outside and I'll look up and it'll be a red cardinal.
Yeah.
And I only found it out because I looked into it, because I'm like, why do I keep seeing these birds? Like, it's just a lot of them here. What does it mean? And so when I looked it up, it said that it's a symbol of like a guardian angel watching. So every time we would go out the house and we'll be like, hey, grandma.
Yeah.
Hey,
so my mom has a similar thing. My mother stayed in the third heavens with, King Jesus all day, right?
Yes.
So she would ways that she always knew that, like, God was leading her, but that she was at the right place at the right time, wherever her journey was, she would see a dime. And she would call me up and be like, Nikki, but she like, no, Nikki, guess what I saw today? I was like, what, girl, you saw a dime? I would be so annoyed.
So
like, girl, do not call me every time you see a dime. It could just be a dime, but no, like, you couldn't convince her otherwise. So after she passed, different things have happened where Like when I started working at the YWCA, and Lord knows I didn't intend to work at the YWCA or whatever,
The one
like I
on Third
did. But
Street?
yeah, it's not there anymore.
Okay.
Like Nami is there,
Oh,
and
okay.
so I in the WC department. But
Hmm.
in my drawer, like in my first like couple of days, out of everything in the empty drawer, there was a dime. I said, okay,
Oh,
Sonia. Okay,
I love those
I
moments.
guess I'm planted here at the right place at the right time, and I would get little reminders. I'm telling you, since that's been happening, and I'm like, here goes the dimes, and I could just hear her saying, Nikki, what is that? And for those who don't know, Nikki obviously is just another name for Nicole.
Yep.
Brit Nicole is really my name. It's half of my first, all of my middle. But
Hmm.
most people would not call me Nikki. But that my mother, I don't think she ever really called my name unless I was like in trouble or something. But she's
Personally,
only
I've never heard her call you Brick. It was always Nikki.
ever. It was always Nikki. Right? You heard it yourself.
Hmm.
So when she would call me and tell me that, and then like sometimes I'm like, I wish I could call her and tell her like, look, girl, I got the dime, but that's her. Like as reminders to me, like it's God's alignment. You know what I'm saying? Like seriously, the way I love and I present myself is through the way she showed me God's way.
Hmm.
My dad, I have all his personality. I'm his friend for real. Like we can make friends, all the great stuff. But
Shout
my
out to
heart,
Ken.
shout out to Ken. But the way I love and the way I serve, that is Sonia. That's Sonia. The sacrifice, the being purposeful and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
That's her. I mean, work ethic, all that kind of stuff. It could be a mix, but like
Yeah.
that's the truth. So like the way I love and the way I show up in this world is because of that woman. You know what I'm saying? I'll never go up and deny God's love to me and how I'm supposed to show it to other people. And this is what we do. So
Right.
yeah, so then those reminders, right? When we see the car notes, when we see the dimes, when we see
Hmm.
whatever, when we hear a song, like your people are backstage rooting for you.
Yes,
They're
and those
backstage
moments are
rooting.
the moments I appreciate. They definitely get me through. So anytime I have those moments, I definitely don't take them lightly. Now,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of pivot a little bit with grief, a lot of people hear grief and they automatically associate it with death without realizing that you can grieve a lot of different things in your life that are not necessarily that's not death related. You can grieve. A lot of people are going through transformations and they're becoming this new person. And a lot of times people grieve who they were because who they were familiar to them. And then the new
Mm-hmm.
person is not as familiar. You can
Yep.
grieve the loss of a job or the loss of a friendship or even outcomes. Not only have I gone through grief with death, but I've definitely gone through grief with outcomes, grieving something that I wanted to be a certain way that didn't turn out that way and having to accept what it is.
Yeah.
So one thing that I wanted to ask you to kind of close this out and then we'll kind of get into the smoke a little bit maybe. Maybe
Okay.
we'll have a little fun. Um
Okay.
with your workshop and kind of your journey through grief, what are some tools or some tips that you can give people who are dealing with many different types of grief in their life to kind of, I can't say it'll ever really get better, but just to kind of get them through a little bit.
Yeah. And to your point, all transitions require some sort of death, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got to
True.
shed that. We got to shed that old skin or those old personalities for the newness to be brought in. We have to sever the ties of that relationship, whether it's familial, friendship,
Mm-hmm.
work related, whatever. It's done. We're not, because you think about it happened, but then you have to sit down and ask yourself why it had to happen.
Yes.
Because sometimes if we're complacent and it's time for us to move, things will happen that were just like out of nowhere, like things was good. What is the problem?
Mm-hmm.
To let you know, like, yeah, because if you don't see it for more than it is, you're gonna stay here. And
Mm-hmm.
you're missing out on all this opportunities for growth and moving forward. You're made for more than this. But this is
Oh, that's
comfort.
true. That's real. I know that I've had issues in my past with letting go and allowing myself to go through the grief process because I was just holding on so tight to
Yeah.
things that were supposed to be let go. And what I realized once I finally got over that, I had gone through a situation that I was holding on to for way too long. And as soon as I let that situation go, it was like heaven opened up and all of these blessings start pouring in out of nowhere. And I was
Yeah,
like, all of this stuff was waiting for me. Like I could have let this stuff go and let it be a long time ago. And I could have just been walking into these blessings sooner. So as you said, that is true. Letting go is very important. It
it
is.
is. And understanding again why it has to happen. Because you're like, well, why me? Why, you know, and some things we will never completely understand. So when I
Mm-hmm.
started that workshop, I was grieving the loss of trust for
Mm-hmm.
one of my dearest friends, longtime friends. I
Mm-hmm.
was really grieving the loss of trust of this person. Now, mind you, right now we're currently not much talking, but it took me to initiate that conversation because I'm just like, anything that you have to shift your mindset of and reconfigure. And like you said, the transforming, that's that, it's not good. It's not feel, it's just healing.
Right.
Healing is not, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't taste good. It doesn't, it's necessary. It's the medicine you need, but you don't want.
Right.
Because you know you can pop all the pills you want, but one sip of this, you be good. But it's like, oh, I want to take that sip. Take that sip, or you're gonna be on this stuff for a long time for no reason. Get healed now, because if we stay in friendships or all kind of other stuff, there's not doing us any justice. There's no reciprocity. We up here hold on to things for because we've been together and friends forever. Time has no value.
Yeah.
If I'm
That's real.
disrespecting you, if I'm making you not feel seen, heard, valued, or appreciated, why, you know, if I say things and I always have to sort of snarky undertone over it, and we tap in because we're supposed to be so close. So,
Right.
you know, no, we have to choose to figure out what we want to allow ourselves to continue to endure. That's a waste of time. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but now we have to get our minds, you know, it's like dieting. You know, you say more so it's in the mind than anything else.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so it's a
Yep.
mindset thing. I just have to learn who I am without you. We were already kind of not hanging out so much. It's okay. I don't wish you ill. I wish you well. I may not be what you need in this part of your journey, and vice versa. Sometimes you gotta separate. If it's meant to come back, then it will. You don't have to force it, but it is because all those years invested and all those trips. If you know what I'm saying, it's like one of your
Mm.
closest friends. You know what I'm saying? We was just somebody was just talking about a grief of a friendship. Sometimes hurt more than a intimate relationship, but it is intimate. You
Yeah,
know
it
things
is.
about me. You
Mm-hmm.
know things about me. I've shared myself. I've been vulnerable with you. You know, we find ourselves trusting in our jobs. There's a vulnerability there.
Yeah,
You know, because this is where
that's
my
true.
livelihood comes from. So it shifts everything. It has to give you grief should come with comfort because it's trying to push you into the uncomfortable so you
Yeah.
can really move
And
and learn and
uncomfortable
grow.
doesn't always feel good.
It never does.
Mm-mm.
When we're uncomfortable, we're tugging at our, you know, clothes, we're repositioning ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Our food pie sometimes be getting hurt by that. You know what I'm saying? We got to flip it down and let it breathe a little bit. You know
Listen.
what I'm saying? Like, but when we're uncomfortable, all we want to do is figure out ways to get comfortable again.
Yeah.
We don't linger in it because you don't want to just not feel good. But sometimes you have to linger just a little bit to learn the lesson so you
Mm-hmm.
don't go back to this, to that, I cannot say that word. So the comfortability or lack thereof
Mm-hmm.
doesn't become so familiar to you and
Yeah.
all these stages and patterns of your life. Then we have to be like, what am I doing that is attracting this energy,
Woo.
that's making permissible these patterns? Because
Mm-hmm.
somewhere we got
Yeah.
to take ownership for what we're accepting, right?
And taking ownership and taking accountability is very important. And I think it's something that a lot of people don't do and they should. I know
Yeah.
that a lot of my healing journey has been me taking accountability for my actions and for what I accept. But one thing I also want to bring up too, and I talked
Mm-hmm.
about this on Facebook a while ago. Um, you can be accountable, but also make sure you're not being hyper accountable, because what I was doing was that I was being accountable so much that it was overshadowing what had actually happened. And it led to me taking on most of the accountability and most of the blame, when in reality, it's like, well, no, like what you went through was bullshit. What they
Yeah.
did was wrong. You could be accountable, but you don't need to be taking more accountability than them.
Yeah.
So yes, it's
Absolutely.
important to be accountable, but make sure that you're not doing it to the point where it's toxic to you and your healing journey. So I thought
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of important to
Glad you
kind
brought
of
that up.
mention. Yeah. Okay. So what I want to do to kind of close out, I want to pivot a little bit because talking about grief is a little bit heavy. So the thing about Pisces, like I said, is we can be so deep and so like woo woo woo, and then we also have our other sides.
Yes.
Like Brittany said, me and her, we be on the petty buzz, and we can be a little chaotic, and we can be a little drama filled. We still working on it, as you see. I wanted to talk a little bit. So we're both 35, and
Yes.
well, and counting because both of us have birthdays coming up. And single at too. So I wanted to ask you, how has your dating journey been? And not only just a journey, but as a Pisces.
Girl, pure trash. I'm kidding. I don't
Tell me
date.
the
Like
truth.
I don't like I just don't I don't it's not that probably I don't have time for it, but like people waste my time all the time. Men start off like they're very intrigued by me. I know I'm desired by men and women, but nobody actually approaches me on something, or they wait until they're like married or engaged or something like, oh, I was really feeling you, like, oh, okay, what do I do with that information? Thanks.
Right. I want to
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to read this post, and the reason I want to read this post, both of us were on this post, and we said that we would talk about it on here. So I want to read it
Okay.
and let me know, and you know what post it is. Um, so it says the person on here was saying that she saw an IG post, and it says, "My life got easier when I realized that it is not my responsibility to convince you to choose me or beg you to like me." And then she said the fear of being disliked or not chosen is something she still struggles with, but she's getting there, and most won't admit it, but it's her truth.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's why I brought up the whole, and it doesn't have to be all about dating when it comes to like trying to get somebody to like you or trying to get trying to feel chosen. But I know that like personally, one resolution, the only resolution that I made for myself this year was that I was choosing myself
Yeah.
in every aspect of that, myself, my peace, my feelings. I have like spent the majority of my life putting everything and everybody before me.
Yeah.
Even with being a mom, like my kid would come before me, and I would just get what's left over out of all of those situations, and it's completely draining. And it
Yeah.
led to nothing but self sabotaging and my self esteem being out of whack and not feeling as confident as I should feel. And that's because I was looking for other people to choose me, and I was not choosing myself. And
Yeah.
so ever since I kind of made that pivot in my life, just this year, I have been able to experience a peace that I have never experienced before. And it
Yeah.
almost feels supernatural that I feel that level of peace, because who knew that choosing yourself could lead to that? But also in choosing myself, that means that I'm not dating this year. Now it's only February. So I don't know. We have to revisit in December and see if I'm still keeping up with that. But
Right.
I really just want to have a whole year of just choosing me and doing what I want to do, not doing what I don't want to do. Um, and I feel like at this age, it could be kind of frowned upon because people have these ideas in their mind of what we should already have accomplished by this age.
Hmm.
And especially in the social media age, they'll make you feel like, oh, you 35, you don't got no kids, or you don't have more kids, you're not married, you're not in a relationship. What's wrong with you?
Oh, I definitely get asked the question, how many kids you got versus like, I'm sorry, how do we get here? Or, and being dark skinned women, even though we are
Oh,
just everything, plus size and all kind of other stuff. So,
yes.
and I also I'm not interested in being loved on behind the scenes. You're not going to inbox me at 2 a.m. talking about you thinking about me when, but you can't say the same shit in a post or whatever, or come to me correctly. But I also wasn't accepting of that either. I definitely was like, and my friends like, you like the whole nigga in the situation. I'm like, ugh, okay, for real. I'll go up here, what I'm saying? Like I would link up with somebody and never even go on a date. Just like because I'm up here like, well, shit. I really just I'm trying to get some. Like I'm really trying to go to Pound Town, so I don't know what the problem is. But like, but apparently that approach is wrong. It took me 35 years to realize that. Or people always want to spin the block. I know who I am, and I know what I got. And anyone who I've shared myself with knows that indeed. I could be on a roster of 500. I could be on a roster of 5, but you won't forget. She's on that roster.
Period. Period.
So
Okay.
and then when they see me perform or write these things, people be in my ear like, "Who is this about?" I said, "Honey, they change faces." I mean, what we know for sure with actual facts is that it's not about you. So you can go take a seat now. So like, and I'm
So do
also
you
told
think
I
that's
got
the toxic side of you? Do you think that that's you putting up your guard because you don't want to be hurt as far as how you're maneuvering through these situations?
it could be protection because I'm such a giver. Like that's so that I'm told to everybody like I am a even when I made posts on Facebook like yeah, bro, you get player vibes. What? What am I missing? And so even my ancestors was like my friend was trying to do a live reading for me and she said she was in the cars and she heard the song I don't want to be a player no more.
Oh
When did
God.
I ever want to be a player? And she's like, what? I used to joke and be like, this art life did not come with a holodeck. I thought I was going to be guaranteed a holodeck. And they were like, Britt, you got hoes. I'm like, where the hoes at? Can I meet them? Like, I just need it. Because in my
I
eyes,
feel
I
like I'm
don't.
the exact opposite. Like can't I don't want 100 people messaging me every day to
Oh,
say
absolutely not.
and good night.
I
I
have.
don't want to have to keep up conversations with that many people at once. And that's why, like I was just telling my best friend a couple weeks ago, like I feel like I'm looking for a unicorn because I I don't like sharing. And don't get me wrong, I know that, dating is dating. You're supposed to be dating people and meeting new people and maneuvering and I I just don't have the desire to do that.
No,
And
you don't have the
once
capacity
you
either.
don't have the capacity, and once I even see that you look like you like somebody else, I don't want nothing to do with you anymore. And I'm taking myself out of the competition, and we just gonna keep moving forward. And I completely understand that that is toxic, and I completely understand that that's probably not gonna get me where I want to go. But I just don't know how else to
It's a
be.
it's, it's a learning curve. I
It
mean,
is.
everyone is different. I've been hanging out with a particular person with him for a couple of months now, like, at his studio. He has dropped me off at home, but he has never been inside my place yet. That's different for me. I have not done any, I mean, well, we made up like a couple of weeks ago,
Well,
but
you don't gotta
still.
tell all you don't be okay. Let me tell
Oh,
all your business.
I don't care. I mean, like, it ain't like they know who the person is, and I ain't dropping names or whatever, but I'm just saying, like, but no, that's like for me, though, to have kicked it with you for 2 months and all we did once, you know what I'm saying, was that for
Yeah,
me, I'm changing. I can't say I necessarily like to change. I think that it's healing. I don't like it, but I'm
yeah.
want differently, so I'm going differently. And
You have to.
even if the old folks try to spin the block or it's like on some hay stuff, I know how to control that conversation. To it's like because if I'm just like, well, while I'm waiting for this man to make a decision, I'm just going whatever. Like I said, may the odds be ever in anyone's favor who's trying to approach me. I said, here's my three things. One, I'm a lot. Take me in small doses. Two, I have a
Yeah.
tendency to ruin niggas. Three, remember one and two. And men only focus on number two. And I said, that's because you didn't focus enough on number one. You praise yourself. Stop doing it to me. That's
Maybe,
it.
okay, so maybe I'm too nice because the way you just put that together, because
I'm just, I'm just
I
very
be giving
direct,
niggas,
Taylor.
I be giving
I'm
them
just,
safe spaces, and I let them be
oh yeah.
vulnerable, and I let them talk. But that's who I am. Like that, I can't change that. And I mean, I would say like there's not any guy that has been in my presence that can say that I was not a safe space for him, and I didn't allow him to be vulnerable and open and be his true, authentic self. Has it ever gotten me anywhere? No, but it's who I
Oh, it's
am.
got you
But I've
closer.
definitely been told I'm too nice. I keep being told I'm too nice.
I get that too. Taylor, I resonate. I'm a safe place, all that kind of stuff. But I just for my protection, I just let you know what it is and what it ain't. Like I was born at night, not last night. I'm
Yeah,
nice, but I'm not naive. I'm keeping everything. Even when I'm in conversation, I'm watching my surroundings. I'm watching body language. It's how I maneuver in the world. You know, you're lucky enough to be in my energy, and that's what's attracting you. My goal, I tell people, I'm a lot. Take me in small doses, meaning we don't have to hang out every single day. The
yeah.
quality of time. You had a whole life before I came in on the scene. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm,
I'm a very busy woman,
mhm.
extremely. So
Yeah, yeah.
when I make time for someone, I'm making time for you.
Mhm.
You do not take that lightly. I've been the person waiting forever for somebody, and I killed that stuff. I will go to a concert by myself. I will go anywhere by myself, and then be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I didn't know, baby. I put a post out there, and I got my ticket. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not here to
Yeah,
coordinate. If you there, then I'll see you when I get there. But I don't wait on folks. If you
right.
want to spend time with me, you can spend time with me. And a lot of people got this, and they the surface, and they think they got the depths of me. Oh, Brit, this whatever like that, and that's cool. It's not my place to tell you where you are. But most of those folks could never even last reaching the depth of me. Pisces, we got layers, and we
So
will wrap you up. We
so
will wrap
many
you up in that
layers.
love, but it could be manipulation too. I could really do damage, but it's not who I am. I treat you the way I want to be treated. So if you want to spend your time with me, if you're invested in me, this particular person reaches out to me like, hey, we still on for it, instead of me having to do it. You
Yeah,
know, someone
and
who's
that's
not making
freedom.
excuses. So it's newness, and I still have to be cognizant of where he is because when men share with us, they'll tell us about those last relationships or whether that really get a number on them. And the first time we really hung out, I sent him the link to where I got my therapist. You deserve to heal. And I'm
Yeah,
not here to tamper with that. I want you to get the fullness. If you ain't got to rush, it's not a hurry up and buy situation, baby. If I'm going to be here and things are aligned, you have no rush because I'm working on me. Because I'm not interested in dividing my time amongst Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike. Whoa, I don't have that kind of time. I don't have the time messaging all these folks and all this kind of other stuff. And I don't want to talk about sex all the time, especially
oh
if I'm not
God,
if I'm not even going to engage with you. What are we doing?
no,
So just
oh, that's like my biggest pet peeve. Once you leave with that or send me a picture, I don't have nothing else for you. I don't have anything.
it's a wrap for me, and I don't do pillow talk. So I'm like, hey, if you're asking me questions, you're either going to do one or two things. You're either going to make it applicable to your own life, or you're going to pass this information off to the homies. What are we doing? For
Yeah.
all that, let's just go look at the clouds or something. Let's talk about something. Give me something of substance. Stimulate this, because she always going. The cruise is always going. I have, so stimulate this because I'm a wordsmith. I know how to entice people. I tell people all the time, I'm witty, I'm pretty, and I come with big cities. It's my truth. It's the truth. Like, what are we doing? We, you know,
The one-liners for me, I can't keep
you,
up.
you don't have to validate my beauty. I know who I am, and it took a
Right.
long time to get to this place.
Oh God. Yeah.
I know the presence, and it can be very intimidating when a woman knows herself.
Yes.
That's why I'm intimidated because you have this confidence, but they don't want you to be confident, but then they want you to love yourself.
Like which
Crosswires,
one is it? Yeah.
you just gonna have to adapt to me. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So that's
that's really a big thing. It's like you're gonna have to adapt to me. And I had to learn that too because I feel like because I love so hard, it's like I'm always wanting to, make people feel good, make them feel special, make sure they feel okay. And then that's not always necessarily reciprocated. Then I get put in the background and then, that's where the self sabotaging and that's where the I'm not good enough. And that's why it's really important for you to, like you said, like I know myself, I'm
hmm
confident in myself, and I am whole without you being here.
yeah, absolutely. You
So
gotta
then,
just know,
if
like
you
I said,
leave, you can't take nothing away from me because I was whole before you got here. Yeah.
I was dope when I arrived. I'm dope from existence. I'm
Yep.
worthy by existence. Everything else is just an added bonus.
Hmm.
But I don't need you to validate that for me. And I used to look for that validation, especially in men.
Oh,
All that kind of
yeah.
stuff. I'm a talker. So if I'm up here the one making sure that you please and all kind of other stuff, I'm like, like, how are you feeling? How is whatever like that. And I always put myself on the back burner. I want to see you
Always.
happy. I
Hmm.
got men who told me the last 2 3 years, Britt, I thought you'd be married by now. Oh, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Was I supposed to be married to you or with somebody else? Like I make it make sense. And I don't know how to respond to those things. And I made a post about that. Like,
Yeah, I remember you said that.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
why are you tracking why are you tracking that on me?
Yeah.
I just feel like people be policing my police they police wow, the word is police. They police your funds, they police your pussy, they police all these things that they
Yeah.
have no access to.
Yeah. That's true.
It is beyond me. Even when I thought, I remember how I used to go in about beards and my love for beards. But I feel like niggas without beards ain't for everybody. But the people are looking like Patch Adams or nothing, or all up in their emotions, because I have a preference about liking beards. It's not like you want me anywhere. Can you make it make sense?
Make it
Why are
make.
you in your body?
Yeah. Yeah. I think men can be they can be confusing. I
Really
mean, I love them
embarrassing.
to death, but that's why I was like, yeah, guy, you're gonna have to tap me on the shoulder and be like, this is him, finally.
Big,
Like
big
this is
homie. Tell me something good, big homie. Tell me something good, because
Right,
you
exactly.
know, I
Yeah,
just
but I mean, I'm confident in that, and that's a good thing about healing. And we gonna start wrapping it up.
yeah,
I'm in a place in my journey where if that opportunity does arise, I am whole and I am healed enough to be in that situation where, I don't come with a bunch of baggage and a bunch of drama. So I am comfortable enough in myself to where if that time does come, I can present myself to someone and, the this is me. This is who I am. I am peace. I am, healed for the most part, although healing there's no end date. I can heal one thing and you turn the corner and you got to heal something
right.
else. But I do feel confident in that I'm not bringing nobody no bunch of drama or no bunch of extra like shit. Like it's me. I'm going to love you. I'm going to encourage you. I'm going to motivate you. And I'm going to expect that you do those things in return. And then I got some dope ass people in my life. I have a very strong support system of friends and family and people that love me deeply and
Yeah,
dearly. And if you're going to be added to my life, then I'm not going to expect anything less from you than I'm already getting. Like
talk
that
about
really like nah, that's just not going to work. So,
it. Yeah.
all right, well to end us out, one thing that I end my show with is what I call a WTF moment. And basically, what that is that either a WTF moment that happened in my life personally, or something that I might have saw in the blogs or like on TV that made me be like, what the fuck?
Mhm.
So, I'm actually going to give you the opportunity. Did you have anything that happened this week, either personally or that you saw somewhere that made you be like, what the fuck? What's going on
I
here?
was in a I was in a PWI. For
Oh,
those who don't know, predominantly white institutions. So it's especially in my new role, people are very entitled.
mm,
And so, and actually I've had to call out my supervisor, my boss, for
mm.
mansplaining something to me. And I literally was like, I don't need you to mansplain anything. I'm pretty sure I
That's
know
what
a
I
little
like.
bit more than you do. And I've had to call him out on his chances. And I'm gonna say this to the people out here listening. Your feelings are valid, but how you approach people, you need to approach people with dignity. Even in your frustration, you need to approach people with dignity. Don't look at them as titles, all kind of other stuff. They're human. We're human and human. Your feelings are valid, but until you can figure out what you want to say, you get that shit in check, because you're gonna say something to the wrong person and results may vary. Dignity always moves with dignity. That's it. So
Yes.
and this is a white man who's my boss, and I sure don't mind holding his ass accountable. I be coming in like I'm his super. I come in and charge like, but yeah, it'd be WTF. Like when that mansplaining thing came, I said, oh, what? Mm-mm. I said, here's the thing. You don't need a mansplain anything. I'm a smart gal. I know what I can do. I can do this. I
Yeah.
can figure it out. So yeah, it be those moments, or these parents just being entitled and stuff. But it's yeah, that's
So
about it.
my WTF moment, I actually had two. One of
Okay.
them is interesting, and I think I need to look into it more. One of my WTF moments is so. Have you been hearing about these random like Chinese balloons flying over different places of the country? So a couple weeks ago, it was reported that a random like white balloon with like tech stuff at the bottom of it was seen flying over Montana. And so somehow they figured out it came from China, and China was like, oh, that's just a weather thing. We're sorry that it came over into your airspace. We apologize. And so they shot it down. And then over the last week, I think one was found over Canada and there was another one found over Alaska. So I'm not too sure about what's going on there, but I definitely was looking at a post online and I was just like, what the fuck is this and what's happening? And should we be prepared? But my main WTF moment is these damn Beyonce tickets.
Oh,
I completely understand that Ticketmaster is currently in a lawsuit, I think because of Taylor Swift's ticket handling. And so basically, for those of you who don't know, with the Beyonce concert, you can't just go online and buy a ticket. You have to go, well, you had to have done it already, register for each
yeah,
city that you wanted to go to. And then you needed to wait to be entered into a lottery system and then receive a code, and then you can go in and buy the tickets pre-sale.
I
They
just
have
got off the wait list.
they haven't even put the tickets on sale for a general sale. So if you know me, I am the biggest Beyonce fan. I still don't have tickets. And I'm like, what the fuck? Because I should have been first on the list to have tickets. But I mean, the cities I chose, so it was three groups. It was Group A, Group B, and Group C. And Group A were like the main cities. So Houston, Atlanta, Chicago, Los Angeles, like the top cities. And then B and C were like the Minnesotas and the New Orleans and stuff like that. So um as of today, I still do not have Beyonce tickets, and I have planned to go and see her twice. And so, I am handling it okay on the surface, but underneath, I am on fire. So, this is my WTF moment. Hopefully, the next time I record, we're going to count down. Today is day like 7 with me not having Beyonce tickets. So, we're going to keep counting down and seeing how many days it's going to take for me to be able to get my motherfucking tickets.
It's coming soon. It's coming soon. You'll get the motherfucking tickets soon, girl.
I'm gonna manifest it. I'm gonna manifest it. But yeah, so that is the end of Conversations with Coco today. I would like to take the opportunity to thank my very special guest, Brit Nicole. You're my first adult guest.
Yay.
Guest was Dylan, but you're the first adult guest. So I would like to thank you for taking the time to come and chat with me today. We're definitely gonna have to do this again somewhere later on down the line. The audio for this episode is going to drop at some point when, I don't know, but y'all are going to get it. You'll be able to tune in on your favorite streaming platforms. One thing that actually is exciting for Conversations with Coco, I now have a YouTube channel.
Hey.
So if you want to look me up on YouTube, you can go under Convos with Coco. I am going to put that in the description box. I would encourage you to go and check me out and subscribe. And also like, follow, and subscribe to me on all of your streaming platforms that you listen to your podcast. Download my episodes. Help me with my analytics. And what I'm going to do in the description box is I'm going to put the information for Brit's poem that we listened to earlier, Obey. That is on Tay Spears' album, you said?
But, instead of doing it through like Spotify, just give them my link for Bandcamp. That's what my album is.
Send it to me. Yeah, okay. Go ahead and send it to me. And then we're also going to drop the link for Brittany's Nocturnal Butterfly. And then also, we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but she also has Moods, Melanin, and Magic, which is her poetry collection. So we're going to put all of her information in the description box below. Yeah. So until next time, Brittany, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having
me. And this is Coco signing out. I'm going to call y'all back. Bye. We're going to dance on the outro.
Oh.
It's a little cozy.